Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Noblesse episode 10. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, we have Riel showing up in town, in particular at the school, and immediately causing mischief. Things started off so a little lighthearted. Obviously, the whole airplane situation, Regis won't have nothing to do with it, but Rai's taking part in it, and so is Sarah. He's just the odd man out in the situation, but Riel shows up, and he uses his mind control on the entire school. It affects everyone that's, human, except for our trio, who are Tao, M21, and Takio, who are experiments, so they're not fully influenced by this, but when they meet with Rael, he immediately smells the stench. And once again, Nobles, Regis himself, I don't know if Sarah necessarily had that same, because they just seem like normal humans at first, but Sarah didn't jump on that as immediately as Regis did, because we never saw, her have the confrontations with, at least at the time, M21, like the others did. But, I think she was a little more reserved than that. So she might be one of the nobles that don't look down on humans. She'd probably be a little more, I guess you could make the argument, a little more progressive Rai is. But, obviously, M21, Takio, nor Tao are any match for him, because he's a pure blood and he's from that family. He's supposed to be Rygar's, that's him and his brother, Rajak, are those kids, because I'm assuming because of the same get up and everything, but I don't pay as much attention to the clan names as I should in that particular regard. But obviously Rai wanted to get involved, but Regis and Sarah told him no, let us handle it. But N21 got affected, and obviously showing you the psychopath that Rael is. It's oh my god, Sarah! And Regis is talking to him, and he's oh, Sarah! Because it's when I proposed to you, it's he proposed and she declined, but when he did that, he went nuts and destroyed the vicinity. That's why his brother had him locked up for the past 10 years. Because it's right, but once again, just showed you how determined Raxtria is about getting her revenge, that she's willing to let, right, you're letting my, let's face it, my psychopath brother run rampant. That's why he was locked up for 10 years for being just crazy like he is. But getting, even Regis is no match for him. He outclasses him, even starts choking him. But Sarah told him to, and it's oh yeah, sure, anything for you, Sarah. And it's right, you ready to go? And he's no, I'm not leaving, I'm staying here. But he's that type of dude that's I don't take no for an answer. It's you're going to be my everything. You're the woman I love so much. I love you so much. And it's it's very one-sided, Obviously, M21 gets treated by Frankenstein, but obviously it comes up the conversation that I kind of talked about earlier about, Tao and Takio training with him. It is just experiments, because like I said, I think the peel thing comes back up. I think Frankenstein modifies those for them, if I remember. But I think he does do some actual training with them. Maybe not. Maybe it's just kind of souping them up with his experiments. But he is the best person. He understands their physiology better than anyone else. And obviously, he got his powers through experimentation, and so did they. So there's a lot of common ground. He can help them in a way no one else can. But for them, it's M21 stuck his neck out for us. And, we don't know what was going through his mind, but he's become a comrade to us. So for us, we're going to do whatever we can to protect our comrade. And it's that glimmer in them willing to fight for each other, that's what, I think that's also why Frankenstein has the perspective he does. Right, that in itself showcases, the difference between the nobles and the humans. Would nobles necessarily fight for each other the way humans are? It just shows you just how amazing humans can be, that they have the capacity to, they might not be the strongest beings, they might be weaker, but they're not as weak as the nobles kind of make them out to be. And it's the fact is, the strength to keep fighting, willing to go above and beyond to protect the people you care about, this life that they care about. Obviously, there's a conversation about Regis' real age, which I wasn't too far off, because I was what if if Sarah's 500, Regis is 250. It's no, it turns out he's 199. But once again, because I figured they obviously wouldn't have been around long enough to know Rai, especially, like, they probably might have heard of it. It makes you wonder. Since all that went down, they probably, like, he's probably been erased from the textbooks. I mean, especially now we've got background because of him and Frankenstein. A lot of people don't like him. Like, it's like you served your purpose, but beyond that, like, you're probably erased from a lot of, like, Luctonia's books. You know, you're probably, like, his, like, history is probably clouded in shadows. That's probably why, because they, like, all Regis and Sarah knew was like, oh, we're here to find the coffin. So that just, they didn't know who was inside, what the circumstances were. They don't know about their lord's beef with Rai. Hearing all this talk, Sarah was thinking about what Rael said before he left. Like, right, I don't want to do anything to make you sad. And in that moment, it kind of got her because she was thinking, like, what does that mean? And probably, like, you know, she realizes it's most likely he's threatening the people I care about, this life I care about. And so, you know, because Regis, like, for him, it upsets him. It's like, you and me, we've been together ever since we were young. Like, you're like family to me. And it's like, I promise I won't let him ever get near you again like that. And she's like, it's okay. He's not even my type. And he's like, oh, really? And it's like, don't worry, just go to sleep. And she decided to handle it herself. Rai immediately picks up on it, but rather than getting involved, because then the other nobles would know, Frankenstein's like, let me handle it. So Rai removes the seal. So it's a nice episode to have, especially after we got those 2 episodes back to back of kind of explaining Rai and Frankenstein and old Ludonia and the clan leaders and all that. Getting that explanation is kind of nice, as, like, you know, he's able to run rampant now. Now Frankenstein is, but it turns out, you know, despite everything Sarah's saying of, like, yeah, like, I want to stay here, because he looks down upon, he's like, oh yeah, those foolish, and she's like, filthy, foolish, those are none of the things I would ever use to describe the people here. For her, it's like, I have friends, school, cooking, I enjoy it all, but like Rai, she doesn't want to give it up, so she wants to stay here, so tells him to leave, and he's like, seriously? He's like, I don't want to do this, but if I have to, and he's ready to attack. Once again, he's kind of crazy. It's like, wait, he went crazy the last time she denied him, and in this case, because for him, it's like, he has other means, but he's like, I was honestly hoping out my love, my feelings for you would be enough to drag you back. But even Regis is like, no, he doesn't care about Sarah. It's not like he really loves her. It's just a mean, because obviously he's pining for the position of clan leader. Obviously he's like, kind of like, oh, I deserve it more than my brother. And so he's just hoping by marrying, like, someone like Sarah, who's already a young clan leader, it'll bolster his chances of becoming the clan leader. Like, he's doing it for selfish reasons. That's all it is. It isn't. Your narcissism and self-absorption is why you're doing it. It's not because you truly love Sarah. But before he could do anything, Frankenstein intervenes and be like, oh, what were you about to do? Actually strike her? And it's almost like he caught off guard, because he's like, wait, no, like, it's just like, no, you were going to force her to submit to your will, like what you want. And so Frankenstein steps in, and the two duke it out. And I think Sarah's seen a fraction of what Frankenstein can do when he went up against Takeo, but this is the first time he really lets loose. Obviously, it's like, oh, you youngsters don't know who I am. I run deep with your nobles. Even going to a point being like, oh yeah, like, being like, oh, I can sense a soul weapon on you. It's like, as a reminder, like, I get a faint sense of your predecessor. It's like, I knew him pretty well. It's like, yeah, you did. Especially all the times you guys clashed. I mean, but then Sarah points out something important. She's like, right, the only person that should have a soul weapon is the clan leader themselves, and that's not Rael, that's his brother. So how does he have one? So I guess he kind of broke the rules. It's like, right, this kind of, like, either it's something special with their circumstances, like, passed down from their father, or it's like, nah, like, I'm gonna prove myself, I'm gonna get my own soul weapon. So he's kind of breaking the rules. I'm curious, do the others know that he has soul weapons? Probably not, because he probably wouldn't be able to kind of allowed to run rampant the way he is. But it's like, cool, you're going to have to go all out if you want to survive against me, so cool, bring out your weapons. And he slashes and cuts Frankenstein. Frankenstein just starts laughing. All right, time to get to it. And summons the dark sphere. It does its thing. And obviously, despite what Rael does, he's still not able to, like, overtake. It seems like an even kilter fight, but it's also because Frankenstein, once again, also holding himself back, because, right, it's still unclear at this point in time. I think it comes up more, obviously, a little later in his arc, but I don't think he still has, even after all this time, he still doesn't have full control of the dark spear, because if he did, he would have let loose a little bit more, but he's trying not to go berserk. So, like that battle against Eurokia last episode, like, he's not going all out because he doesn't lose control, even to the point being like, right, Rael's just so, like, their whole point is to stay hidden too, but for him it's like, oh, these humans, who cares? I'll destroy the place, I'll either kill them or wipe their memories, it doesn't matter, they're beneath me. So he's destroying the buildings, but that's something Frankenstein's a little aware of, like, right, I need to stop this, because if this keeps running rampant, there's going to be a lot of damage to the city. But Sarah, Regis shows up, and him and Sarah together stop this. And he's like, Rael, you'll even fight me? And she's like, yes, I will, so please leave. He's like, I didn't want to have to do this, but this is a summons from our Lord. You have to obey it. And Sarah, specifically as a clan leader, has no choice. Like, probably the only people who could ignore that authority is Rai. And so Sarah kind of submits and agrees to go. She doesn't want to, obviously. And for him, it's like, right, he was hoping, like, oh, I get you back with my... But it's like, no, if I have to, I didn't want to do this because I wanted you to love me like I love you. But fine, if you won't submit willingly, here, I'll pull out this. He could have pulled that out from the beginning, but he wanted to showcase. He wanted to be like, oh, look how tough I am. I'm so awesome. Once again, kid's not right there in the head. But then immediately, like, next time we meet Frankenstein, like, obviously not knowing who Frankenstein is, I'm going to kill you. It's like, you got off easy, kid. That could have easily went bad for you. Like, people stronger than you haven't been able to, like, go toe-to-toe with Frankenstein would have easily gotten killed. But even throwing out the hint, like, oh yeah, guess you tell. Well, if he isn't already lost his head. So now Frankenstein's aware of, like, right, things are going bad back at Ludonia, so it's like, what are we going to do? You know? And for Rai, it's like, right, I guess we have, essentially, there is no other choice. They're going to have to go back, you know, if they're going to get Sarah back. And even Frankenstein talking, he's like, oh, are you not worried about Sarah, or are you more concerned about yourself than her? He's like, of course I am. He's like, good, then get ready, because it's time we go back to your home of Ludonia. You know, like, they're going to take Sarah back. Because I figured because of the whole Rael thing and him being obsessed with Sarah, I knew her being taken was going to be the catalyst for why they decided to go back. That's why I was like, maybe Rai would have eventually gone back, but like I said, just for a little time. He just, you know, gets Joe. That's why he was like, oh, they were mistaken. There was no Noble. It's like, I know you're lying to me. You're protecting him for some reason. No. So their Lord has spoken, and so they're getting ready to ship out to Ludonia. And obviously we had the little bit at the end where M21's like, no, this is my responsibility. They're like, no, let us take care of this. And what they're talking about is the household chores. And it's like, oh, they didn't want to be a burden, or he didn't want to be a burden to them, and they didn't want to be a burden either. So like, no, we're covered for you. We got your back. You had our back. We'll have yours. And then it's like, but don't make more of a mess in the process for all of us. You know, so kind of that fun bit. But yeah, next episode, I'm assuming they're on their way to Ludonia, not unless the next episode is them making preparations, because they all got it. Well, I think we're also probably going to, like, based on the thumbnail I saw for episode 11, I think we're going to dive a little. It's probably going to be a combination of that plus diving into Raskria's, like, perspective on things, because we saw that moment of her as a little girl there with her dad and Rai and looking at each other, and she's like, if he's going to come, then come. Like, she wants to face him. So it all comes down to this. Like I said, next episode might be a little, like, background and into all of that, while also including them on their way to Ludonia. We'll have to wait and see. Like, I'm curious. Like, I'm trying to remember if any of the preparation was included, or whether that starts the, like, do they already showcase that before they go to Ludonia, or is that something that comes up after they go to Ludonia and the battle starts, and then you start seeing, like, the preparations then of what they made in preparation of going to the island, because they need to be able to be souped up. And like I said, M21, we've already seen, like, the first hints to that when Rai showed him his true self. This arc, that's why I'm saying, like, I don't remember if that was from the manga, because I feel like this here, like, the whole Ludonia stuff, is when you first get to see, like, his full power awaken. I just don't remember, like, the circumstances for, like, whether it was, like, more experimentation for Frankenstein, like Takio and Tao, like, it's something in that regard, or was it something he kind of awakens on his own? I don't remember. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and Goodbye.